Okay, I've got the water going out in the garden. I haven't watered in a couple of days. We're in like this weird muggy where the smoky haze is kind of like holding everything in like a heat dome. And it's officially at the beginning of September, so it's a little harder to breathe out right now. And you can feel it, but got to keep moving. So with it now being September, I realized I didn't actually do anything for garden-wise for all of August for this channel. But I did post some photos online about some things that we were harvesting because we were doing a lot of like daily harvest, bringing in a couple baskets a night. It was pretty good. It also helped with my challenge for myself to try to preserve 2 things a week and then put a meal away for a week. I overachieved that. I under-challenged myself. So next year I might do something a little bit more with that challenge, but I don't have any room in my freezer and I don't have any room in my pantry, which is not exactly the worst problem to have, but I'm hoping that the holidays are coming up and I can make some space. We'll see. I don't have as many mouths to feed right now because it's summer. We're all busy going off and doing our things. Like this weekend is the first weekend of the month, so I'm by myself. So I'm not only managing this house, I'm managing the other house with all of the animals, the horses, the goats, the chickens, as well as one of my friends' mom had asked me last minute if I could take care of her place with her animals and her garden. So I'm extra busy this weekend, a lot to manage by myself, which is totally fine. But it's also going to be the first Saturday of the month tomorrow. And in my little town up here, they have like the first Saturday of the month sales going through like all their thrift shops and like their country feed stores. And I like to at least go perusing around there because I like to find stuff on sale that like, oh, that'll actually work. I can solve that problem right now. You know, it's on sale. So lately I was buying jars. Then I discovered I didn't need any jars. I have way too many. If jars were currency, I'd be a millionaire. I've got a lot of jars I got to figure out. I have a lot of vintage ones too. Right now for this house, it's all about storage space and trying to prepare it for sale. I don't want to continue living at this place for many years. I don't want to be stuck here. I feel like we've outgrown this area, but the market's not that great and we're trying to work with what we have. And it's really hard to manage everything on 2 separate properties that are so far away from each other, about 30 minutes between us. So, and then as also trying to have a life around it, because I was going to go get the groceries this weekend, going to go to Costco. I was going to go do my shopping for myself. But now that I have 3 places to take care of, it's not really going to happen. They all have their own schedules. And, you know, I don't want to have problems happen like that I can't control because I can't get there in time. You know, I don't want there to be any issues. So doing the best that I can. Of course, I'm by myself. I'm sweating. Oh my gosh, I'm really gross, but it's okay. Moving on. So August, we did a lot of daily harvest for in the baskets. I actually got a basket out right now. I've got water running in the garden to kind of like catch up on that. But we're going to start in the greenhouse, talk about some of the failures and some things that actually worked well and what I plan for next year. First of all, I'm not going to do this big of an effort for a fall garden because everything I like to eat in the fall, I can get in the store pretty easy and cheap. A lot of things that you can't get in the store that I want to grow, I would have to buy the seeds for because I'm trying to use up the seeds that I have first. And a lot of the varieties that I have, I can just get at the store. So I like to let my garden rest out here for the season. The only thing I'm probably going to end up planting is like the garlic and seeing where I'm going to put that this year. And then I think that might be just it. I think that might be it, just the garlic for the cold stratification. So, but with that being said, in the greenhouse, I'm going to try to see how long I can get these guys to go through the season now that it's September and the nights are cooling down, because I've been getting a lot of okra every day and I've been frying it up and having fried okra just about every other day, and it's been kind of good and sometimes bad. I've put some in the freezer just to see if I like how the texture of frying frozen okra will be throughout the winter. I know there's a couple extra steps to do that, like when you thaw it, you have to kind of rinse it to get like all the jelly mucilage off of it after it has a freeze. It should be fine. I'm going to test that theory, but oh well. The green okra so far has been the only thing that's been producing. I haven't had any red okra. I might have a couple out in the garden itself from when I planted those out a few weeks ago. But these guys are producing like crazy. I need to come through and pick off some of the larger ones. I don't want to get them to be too woody because then they're kind of just too, tough to fry. They're doing well. I did recycle this bin because I had some holes in the bottom for this. And then the couple of the red okras in here, they're starting to pick up. But I think in the greenhouse, I might have a better chance of them actually producing anything than if I had them outside. Then the cantaloupe melons, these decided to just become a nest of a mess, and that's fine. This just kind of proved to me that if I want to have melons in this specific spot of my zone, I need to have those kind of things in a greenhouse. This greenhouse is a little small for that kind of production because not only is that when the timeline is needed for that to be planted out, I also have my other seedlings in here, like my tomatoes, that weather kind of overlaps, or it's kind of like that long extended cold, and then we have like a short mild summer. So I don't have a lot of space to work in here for those to have like what they need to grow and vine out. But I think next year, if we don't want to do okra next year, I might do melons, which I may need to figure out how I can put in like a temporary raised bed in here on one side with a little bit of a trellis just to work some vertical space in here. But that tells me I didn't do a total fail of melons. Okay, I gotta grab the basket. And this greenhouse itself is actually pretty old. It's got quite a bit of damage to it, so it may also be time to get a new one anyway. All right, so this mess over here was the poppies. I tore out the plants and put them in the burn pile because those would actually harm my goats and chickens, but I did save as many of the seeds as possible and throw them in the freezer. I don't think, since we had like a really mild summer, I don't think we're gonna have that much of a cold winter. It may just be wet like it has been in years past. So just in case, I put them there for that cold stratification. And then I'll probably throw them out around the same time I plant the garlic for the we may get snow, but it may not show up until Valentine's Day like it has in the last couple of years. So just in case, they're in the freezer. And then I need to clean up this whole area. These were just recycled wood beds. I just wasn't ready to let go yet. So I actually am thinking I'm going to tear out those wood crates. I think that's what they were. I think they were wood crates. And just clean up this whole section. But if we end up replacing this greenhouse, we might end up taking the rest of that space. So, which would be fine. I'm not a huge fan of growing right up against the greenhouse because there's not enough space in between, and it has become like a little nesting ground for the bunnies and mice. All right, like I wasn't already sweaty enough, I had to go and chase my dog back to my property because he decided to ignore how old he is, jump my backyard fence, and go all the way up the woods into the hill to chase after whatever was back there. And I'm pretty sure it was a deer. But I can't have him running off the property because I don't really trust my neighbors, and we've been having cougar issues. So, really don't want that to happen to my animals. Okay, so anyway, now that I'm losing daylight and the sunset looks really pretty, but if I try showing you, it's not going to look the same as if I showed you with my own eyes. So anyway, back in the garden now that he's back in the backyard losing his mind because that's just what he does. So barks at everything that moves. Anyway, it is almost time to say goodbye to everything in the garden, meaning pulling everything out, giving the chickens some of the plants that they can eat for animal fodder or to the goats, topping off and dressing all of the beds for the fall planting of garlic at least. Like I said, I'm not going to do a full effort again for the fall stuff because I just don't really have any inspiration that I want to plant. But I still need to prep my beds for next year. I do see a lot of nutrient loss, and I see that, and it's showing in my plants. So I will need to figure out where I can order the next round of compost. All of my compost that I have here from the chickens and from the horses and goats and things is only about a couple months old. So because we go through it, and I also sell it, which I could probably save some for myself, but I really don't want to. So I'd rather go buy like a big truckload and have it delivered so that I can also use it for my flower beds as well. But that's another finance issue that I will figure out if I'm going to do that, because I may end up just tearing out a couple of these older beds and mixing in the soil. I do have some worm compost and some that other black compost that currently has a vine growing through it that I let go all summer. I could also use some of that too. I do have a couple of bags from earlier this spring that I had ordered, and I just didn't get to using. I got like a couple back here. So, but yeah, it's going to be tearing everything out and planting the poppies and garlic and the other things that need like to have the cold stratification. And then that just means it's also one step closer to planning for next year. So for next year, I'm not sure that I actually want to expand the garden at all. I think I want to fix those flower beds at least a little bit so that we can sell this place and grow somewhere else. Um, I just don't like how those flower beds turned out. They're not holding up for me, and it bothers me. It bothers me a lot. But I do want to grow more flowers in my vegetable garden, and I'll show you the one flower pocket that I have left that's doing pretty well, and I'm pretty proud of it. So, but for as far as expansion, I think I just want to focus on what I have here because I don't have a watering system. I just hose water, and I hate hose watering. It takes up so much time. If I had a watering system, if I had all the money in the world, I would have the perfect watering system. One that's not going to get in the way for how I do chaotic planting, but it would be something I can either just turn on and just let go for a while. But I don't have that this year. And I probably won't have it next year, to be honest. But that's okay. I only have the few beds in here, so that's enough to manage, plus whatever I grow in the greenhouse, and then that's it. The flower beds are pretty easy to manage. There's a separate hose up system up there, so whatever. But I think I would have had more effort in this garden and if I had a watering system. Because I really did not water as much as possible. I did lack on putting in the fertilizer and the nutrients into this corn, and that's part of the reason why it's so far behind in development, which that's on me. But I also have a lot of other things I got to balance as well, and those all take their own time. And now that we're finally getting this to like the 7 o'clock sunsets, kind of too late to fix that now. But moving on. Yeah, I think I would have had a lot to harvest if I kept up on my fertilizer schedule as well as the watering schedule. The one thing that sucks with hand watering is when you have individual pots of things. And I had too many of my Sun Gold cherry tomatoes, and I had those in individual pots. And I got so tired of watering them individually, deep watering. And I always do deep watering, but oh my gosh, it just takes so much time and effort. And it's like I got to plan for it to leave the water running over here so that I'm outside so I don't overwater something or just flood something out. And just planning around that. It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with, and it's draining. And I'm on a well system over here, so that's another fear I have is having well issues, like having an air pocket somewhere, and I'm screwed. So anyway, so yeah, I don't think I'm gonna actually do too much expansion. Just focusing on what I can do inside the greenhouse. I actually think I'm gonna probably tear out a couple of the wood beds that are around here that are kind of old, and it's time to move. I'm also considering doing a couple more green stock orders. The one green stock that I have right now, I don't have any wheelbases for it. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. When can I ever talk though? So that is something I want to invest in is get the wheels for it because I would like to move it around. Right now it's my strawberry tower, and I kind of just gave up on the strawberry tower because it was taken over by spiders, and I'll show you that in a minute. And I let it go because I would just fill the top with water, and it did well. Don't get me wrong, it does very, very well, and it's one of my favorite things. But it's in the back of the garden, and I really hate dragging a hose all the way over there to fill it up with water. And because of my laziness, it's suffering, but it's okay. I have a lot of runners I gotta take care of on that strawberry tower. But I am also considering getting a new bed for just the strawberries so I can have like a strawberry field, and that way I can just let them just take over. So I think I have about 60 strawberry plants plus whatever babies they've made in the past couple of years. So, but yeah, I may end up getting some more of those towers so I can have more vertical growing space, and then I could do a whole green stock of peppers. I think the peppers would do very well in a green stock, but they did pretty well here in the raised beds when they were planted along with carrots. And I think that would be enough for expansion wise, because I don't really need any more beds. I don't have the space for that. But if I added some grow towers, I think I could get much more of a yield for food. So let's go see what the rest of the garden's going on, because I gotta move the water. I'm just gonna leave my basket here for now. Okay, so here's kind of like a quick view of what it looks like from the front. I do have quite a bit to come through and weed and just pull out to make some space here. But this is what I was talking about with the individual pots just being right there in the center. It's hard to get the water to them, and it's just been kind of frustrating to work with that. So if I was going to do that, I should probably have those all in one spot. Yes, I know I can never not buy tomato plants when I don't have that variety growing. So I know the future me is going to end up getting more anyway. So when I have too many plants, I just use pots. So okay, now that the dump trucks of gravel are done, let's go check out this okra, for the red okra that I have planted out here. I planted these out a few weeks ago. I had harvested all of these carrots that were in this bed, and it came to be about 52 pounds of carrots. Pretty happy about that. I did can those up into a couple different flavors of glazed carrots, and they're actually pretty good. I just wish I had more carrots, like of that variety specifically. Those were the Dragon Tongue, I believe, from Baker Creek. So those are kind of my favorites. I did also put them in a few of the chicken pot pies, and they had such good flavor and a lot of good color. I do have some other carrots around the garden that are almost ready, but I'm hoping to get a little bit of a cooler weather onto them so that they're a little bit sweeter. But either way, I am getting some little tiny red okras coming in through here. This was a green one. I guess I mixed that one in. Oops. That little tiny red okras. I'm hoping that the flavor isn't too different from the green okras. I'm sure it's probably not, but I also like adding different colors of things into any of my dishes. I've got a bunch of different colored radishes down here, some other herb seeds that I had just thrown in here because the seed packets were pretty old. I'm just going to let them take over as a kind of a mulch area for that bed. All right, so the pepper bed. I'm actually pretty surprised that they did so well. I think they did a lot better with the carrots that were growing in between them, just because of like the balance of water and the heat during the colder times of the spring. But these are crazy. Those are cayenne peppers. They're not even red yet, but my gosh. I have pulled quite a few of the large Anaheims that are coming on here. So you got a few more of them. I got like some that were as long as my forearm, and it was crazy. For those, I actually roasted them in the oven and can them up to make my own canned green chilies, so that if we do like chilies or something, I can use those. You can pressure can those. Oh my gosh. Some of these jalapenos are just like that and ready. Why? What was I gonna do with all these jalapenos again? I forgot. I think some of these might be the not jalapenos, but it's just still be good for those jalapeno poppers that I know that the boys like jalapeno poppers. So, I think I'm gonna end up letting those go a lot longer because I only see a handful of the fat ones, but I also see a lot of baby ones coming on sale. So hopefully those will take off here soon since the weather is cooling down pretty fast. And then back there on the very end, I have some more of those carrots. These are the yellow variety. So those will probably get chopped up and thrown in the freezer. The bean bed actually did pretty well. The ones that were over in the hodgepodge on the edge there actually did a lot better. Even though they were planted at the same time, I don't understand why they have such larger beans than the ones over here. But either way, I'm just waiting for them to continue drying on the plants so that I can add them to my container in the pantry. I do have about, I want to say, 2/3 of a quart jar full of dried beans, and I'm actually really excited to use those for our homemade baked beans. And I think I will plant some more of those next year. I don't like green beans. I'm not a big green bean person. I mean, sometimes it's great to have green bean casserole once in a while, once in a blue moon, but that's around like the holidays. Other than that, I don't go out of my way for them. So that vine has kind of lost his mind. Oh my goodness. I'm just letting it go. I mean, it's making little babies. of squashes. So I'm hoping they actually do develop some squash, but it is just one vine right now. And it's from all over by the Hodgepodge garden. So I'm happy that it's happy there. I'm going to leave it be. These beds were where those potatoes were. I'm fairly certain it was the bunnies that ruined them. So I just kind of threw in some of these other plants here that I just didn't have any more space for. Just letting them do what they're going to do. But I should probably fertilize them. Those are some larger varieties of squash. I don't remember where I put those tags. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I should probably come out here and fertilize it in the morning just to give it some more nutrient boost. But I am also going to take that rosemary bush and bring it into the house, and probably the one that's over here too. I need to go get some new pots for indoor stuff anyway, so I think I'm going to bring those inside just so I can have them in the kitchen. So, all right, so the back of the hodgepodge patch here, not too bad. A lot of beets still coming in, but I did just pickle up about, I want to say 5 quarts of beets, mostly from my mom, because I'm not a really big beet person, but I should be. I should, because I'm anemic and they're supposed to be good for you, but oh well. I'm surprised that the leeks did well on this back half here, because they kind of got nutrient, like all of that nutrient stolen from them when the kale and the cabbages were back here. So, because those are kind of heavy feeders. So I'm surprised that they've bounced back, but I'm gonna let them do what they're gonna do. These little things of sadness are the strawberries that I was talking about, 2 of them at least, before I show you the tower. Yeah, I kind of ignored those, but they made babies, so we'll have to figure out where I'm gonna put them. Around the side here, though, there's a big difference in these bean pods. Look at how massive those are. Those are huge. And they're the exact same variety. They're from the exact same seed packet thing, and they were planted the exact same day. So, what the heck? But yeah, this whole bed is a mess too. I am considering dismantling this big mess and the other one on the other side where the corn is, but it's good for like the cabbages and pumpkins. These pumpkins are not going to take off, but I'm going to let them be because they're trying to. I don't think they're going to develop anything by Halloween, so oh well. That was kind of like a last minute idea. That was when I was struggling to try to find some that were already started so I could at least be a few weeks farther than I am now, but lesson learned for next year. To have more rotation in the garden, I need to have some of my fall stuff prepped in the greenhouse and ready to go so that I can fill in those spaces as we harvest. So that's something I need to work on in general, just throughout the entire garden season, because I just don't plan ahead for plant wise, because I always feel like, okay, well, I'm going to do too much, and then when I don't have enough space, then I'll have to put everything in pots. Then it's going to be worse to water, but then I find out, oh, well, these are all ready to harvest now. For some reason, they just got like a good nutrient boost, and now they're ready to go now. So now I have empty space. So full circle of life as a gardener. All right, so this is one of the other of those red okras. I just threw it in here because I kind of ran out of space. But then this is the flower corner. I'm actually really happy with these, how they turned out. I love these chocolate cosmos. They smell like Tootsie Rolls. I love them. A lot of these dahlias. These were ones I started from seed. Yo, this is awesome. I see that the bee balm has been taken over. The nasturtiums, I like the dark red ones. Those are really pretty. I'm surprised that they lasted all summer. That's also another sign that tells me we did not have that hot of a summer. Straw flowers, I gotta go through and start picking off some of these dead ones here so I can get some more effort of them blooming. I definitely need to come through and do some cutting though. But look at how pretty these are. They're just gorgeous. I'm happy with that. I really love these guys though. Alright, and just to the side of it though, minus the weeds. I think these were one of those mixes of carrots. I see a few cucumbers that I need to go and pick off and probably give to the chickens because those are too far gone for our taste, but that's all right. I'm happy that they are finally starting to take off on the trellis, but it's kind of late. I think that the peas that were on the other side here may have overshadowed them a little bit too much. But the peas also took forever to take off anyway, so I might have to figure out if I need to move my trellis or redesign it entirely. I wanted to have a few more trellises in the garden in general, so that's something to consider for next year's plan. Just gonna set that in there for now before I come do the evening harvest. Oh my goodness. Look at those. I can't believe I've missed those the last couple of days. Oh well. These beds, though, are two of the beds I was considering tearing out. Just because they're kind of on the older side and they're like one of the first beds I worked with. But they seem to be okay. They might be good for another maybe 1-2 years. We'll see. Okay, now that I've shown some of the more manicured mess where it makes sense, let's go check on everything else. So, but first, let's say hi to our little garden friend that's taken over my strawberry tower. Yep, you're pretty. Yep, you can have that strawberry tower. But you see all the runners like kind of raining down all over it? Yeah, they were trying to spread and reproduce, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those now. Alright, moving on. So these are the individual cherry tomatoes. I just need to get the rest of them off, and I'm going to chop them and throw them in the compost. I'm not going to do that again next year. At least I say that now. Next year I probably still will, but we'll see. Then this is a green okra that I had planted the same time as the okra in the blue bin in the greenhouse. And look how small it is. And it has produced so little. This is going to be the first time I actually harvest anything off of it with that big chunker right there. And it's September. That's wild. The onion bed, though, I probably will still get some long day onions, but since this is a whole bed of long days and we're just now harvesting them, I'm going to get some more short days so that I can probably have some spring onions versus planting these in the spring and waiting all summer long for them. I'm waiting for them to all kind of just flop over and pinch themselves off. I have a massive one over there and I'm excited for, so we'll see. I'm not going to cure them like I usually do, because there's not very many. I will probably just put them in my kitchen and then chop them up and throw them in the freezer after a few weeks of them drying out. But other than that, I definitely want to do more onions next year. So, and I do have this one giant leek. I forgot that we had planted leeks on the end of this bed with the other onions because they're part of the allium family. But my best friend who's deployed had helped me, and I think I remember vaguely us having that conversation about we'll just throw them in here on the end since we didn't have room anywhere else at the time to plant things. So, whoops. So, tomato variety wise, though, I'm actually really happy with the cherries and these plum or pear size. I always have a ton of cherry tomatoes in my freezer. I did just roast a bunch of them with some of the larger varieties that I had harvested and made like a roasted tomato soup and canned that up. It was actually pretty freaking good. I'm happy about that. So, I wish I had more of the larger varieties because a lot of those are still green. They're not even blushing hardly at all. I don't like having to cut them and bring them into my house to continue the ripening process. I like when they're sun ripened. But I know that's not really an option here since I'm kind of surrounded by shadow most of the year. So, but I am happy with what did develop. I'm just kind of sad that now that we're trying to get to the colder season, that I'm probably going to end up losing some of those larger tomatoes. I can do something with green tomatoes. I could do like a green tomato salsa or some fried green tomatoes. It just kind of depends on how far we get for the rest of this month. I have yet to check the weather to see when we're going to get our next set of rain, because as soon as we get rain, a lot of these tomato plants, they're already starting to do it right now, are going to have issues. I need to come through and clean them up, trim them up, and get some of those tomatoes off for that weight. So, all right. The last little thing over here is these blueberry bushes and this apple tree. These are probably going to end up going into the orchard across the driveway over here, or sorry, across the road, past the driveway. This apple tree was the one that my best friend had picked from Flower World before he deployed. It did pretty well for its first year here in a pot in the garden. I wanted to kind of protect it a little bit more. But those pink lemonade blueberries are probably going to go with it across the way. I think those trees are taken off better. Oh, hey, little spider. Don't bother me. Don't come around. I try to get it. No, I don't want to bother you. I'll leave you alone. And then the back side of the corn here, the squashes that I had planted here on the corner, that was dumb. I don't know why I thought that was going to be okay. There's going to be like no light for them. So, oops. Through the corn. Look at these. Look at this dahlia. Aren't those lovely? Those are some of my new favorite dahlias. Anyway, I wanted to show some of the worst weeds ever. It's these moonflower vine things. They bloom at night, which is okay, kind of cool, whatever, but still. They choke everything out. And I've got a good branch of it going into this corn bed. I am going to have to do some major weeding. How lovely. Not happy about that. And before I forget to mention it, because with my luck, the deer will hit it again and take over. We finally have a little bit of a fruit coming on one of these vines, but they're not all the same. So I think the deer may end up just getting it all again, which is totally fine. But I don't know which kind of squash it is because I had a bunch of different varieties in the greenhouse growing. So I'm just gonna, like I say every time, I'm gonna just let it do what it's gonna do. If it supports nature, then that's fine too. And then I have my wheelbarrow full of plants I'm gonna take down to the burn pile. I don't want to put them in my compost because they'll just spread their seeds. I don't want to have more plants I gotta take to burn just because it's not safe for my animals to ingest them. But that's where it's gonna sit for now and dry out until the burn ban is lifted. But yeah, so our compost squash is turning into deer bait. Okay, so I had to go inside and grab the gremlin so that she can come outside too. You want to say hi? Hi, Dazzle. But like my other dogs, she wants to come around and chase everything in the greenhouse and not care if there is a barrier in the way. She will just stomp through everything. So, oh well. So that's how everything is for September. I am eventually, hopefully here soon, gonna have to make a list of what my plans are for next year and going forward. I've got quite a bit to consider with everything else I have to manage around here. But for now, I'm going to finish up the watering and do some harvesting and go make dinner. A lot of this, though, I've been thinking about it a little bit as I walk through here. I feel like if my best friend was home, I probably would have been a little bit further. And I can't say that they were my only motivation to do all this stuff. I've been doing this for years, but it's always nice to have someone in the garden with you to help out, even just to sit there and chat. Like, I don't care. Just have a seat. I'll go weed if you want to sit there and have a chat. Like, just come hang out in the garden, Which is part of the reason why I want to make some more, like, gathering spaces, like some seating areas, because I want people to come hang out and enjoy them. I don't want this to just be for production. Like, I want people to feel like, oh, I'm just going to go sit in the garden and have dinner, which is nice, when the weather's nice, go for it. Like, I love that. I don't want to have to be in the house all the time. So, but yeah, I wish I had more friends that would come out and just hang out in the garden, hang out with my goats, hang out with the horses, come see my gremlin dogs, like my monsters. I have a zoo, so just come hang out, But oh well, it is what it is. So, anyway, I'll see y'all next time. I've got clearly a lot of work to do, so I better get to it before I lose all my daylight.